Hold this for a second. Someone has just crossed $1 million in their investment account. They've been building toward this for, depending on when they started, somewhere between 12 and 25 years. They've stayed invested in crashes. They've automated contributions through months when it felt pointless. They've watched the number go up and down and sideways and ultimately, finally to here. And they open the app on Thursday mornings. $1 million, or just over. The comma is in the right place for the first time. Here's a question worth sitting with before we go any further. Why does hitting the exact number you spent 20 years chasing sometimes feel like nothing changed at all? There's a specific reason this happens, and it isn't about the dollar amount. It's about a ratio hiding inside that number that almost nobody calculates until they're already living inside it. We'll get to it in a few minutes. They sat there for a moment, and then they feel something they didn't quite expect. Not relief, not the sense of arrival they'd been imagining. Something more like, now what? Like crossing a finish line and realizing the race course continues. Like the number changed and the feeling didn't. And this moment, this specific feeling of reaching the number and not feeling what you expected to feel, is one of the most common, least discussed experiences in personal finance. Because $1 million is real, it's meaningful. It's not anything, but it's also not what most people think it is. And understanding what it actually is and what it actually funds changes everything about how you build toward it. My name is Nicholas, you can call me Nick, and I spend a probably unhealthy amount of time thinking about money. Not in a hit the number and you're done kind of way. More in a, why do people who reach genuinely significant financial milestones still feel financially uncertain kind of way? Because $1 million is a milestone that almost everyone has a feeling about before they reach it. And almost everyone is slightly surprised by the reality when they get there. So today I want to show you what $1 million actually looks like in retirement. Not the marketing version, the real one, with the math and the gaps and the parts nobody mentions in the headline. Here's the problem with how most people think about $1 million. They think of it as a pile, a static pile of money that they'll gradually draw down over 30 years. And technically that's what it is. But the pile framing misses the most important variable. The pile isn't the answer. The ratio is the answer. The ratio between what the pile generates, its annual income, and what your life costs. $1 million at 4% withdrawal generates $40,000 a year. That's the standard starting point. The 4% rule: withdraw 4% in year 1, adjust for inflation each year after. And historically the portfolio lasts 30 years with a very high probability, $40,000 a year. In some places, in some lives, that is comfortable. In others, it's tight. And the difference has almost nothing to do with the portfolio, it has everything to do with the lifestyle that surrounds it. $1 million is not a destination, it's a ratio. And the ratio only makes sense when you know what's on the other side of it, what your life actually costs. Let me show you this with two people. Same age, same portfolio, completely different retirement experiences. Person A, let's call him David. He's 65. He has $1 million in a broad index portfolio. He retired from a career that paid well, and over the years his lifestyle quietly expanded to match it. His mortgage is paid off, but his property taxes are substantial. He travels several times a year. It's what he and his wife planned retirement around. They eat well, drive new cars. They help their adult children when needed. Their annual spending is around $95,000. At 4% withdrawal, his $1 million generates $40,000 a year. His Social Security adds another $22,000. He has $62,000 coming in. He needs $95,000. The gap is $33,000 every year. And that gap has to come from selling shares, which is exactly what we talked about in episode 4. Shares sold during bad market years that never recover. Sequence risk in action. David has $1 million, and David is not comfortable. Does any part of David's math sound like where you're currently headed? Not the exact numbers, just the shape of it. Person B, let's call her Margaret. She's also 65. She also has $1 million in a similar portfolio. She worked in public service, earned a modest but steady income, and lived, deliberately, not through deprivation, at roughly 70% of her salary for the last 20 years. Her home is paid off. Her car is older but more reliable. She travels once a year, locally. She finds genuine satisfaction in a life that doesn't require much money to sustain. Her annual spending is $38,000. At 4% withdrawal, her $1 million generates $40,000 a year. Her Social Security adds another $19,000. She has $59,000 coming in. She needs $38,000. She has $21,000 a year more than she needs. She can reinvest it, let it compound further, give some away, take an extra trip when she wants to. Margaret has $1 million. And Margaret is genuinely free. Same portfolio, same number, completely different retirements. The variable isn't $1 million, it's a lifestyle built around $1 million. And this is the thing about $1 million that almost nobody talks about in the headline, because it's uncomfortable. The million doesn't fund your retirement. Your expenses fund your retirement. The million just covers the gap between your income and your expenses. And if that gap is large, if your life is expensive, $1 million doesn't close it. Now, I want to stop here, because I can hear a version of this thought forming. Nick, David just has a spending problem. The solution is obvious: spend less. And yes, on paper that's true. But here's what that miss. David didn't make irresponsible choices. He made completely normal, socially acceptable, widely celebrated choices. He upgraded his life as his income grew. He planned retirement around the lifestyle he'd built. He did what most high-earning people do. The problem isn't that David is bad with money. The problem is something more structural. And it has a name that explains why it's almost impossible to see coming. The problem is called hedonic adaptation. And in the context of retirement planning, it creates one of the most expensive illusions in personal finance. Here's how it works. At 35, David imagined retirement. In that imagination, his lifestyle was roughly what it was at 35. His retirement number, the amount he needed, was based on that life. Let's say he calculated he needed $800,000. By the time David is 50, his lifestyle has quietly upgraded. Better home, nicer car, more expensive habits. The life that would have felt luxurious at 35 now feels ordinary at 50. And so, the retirement number recalculates. Now he needs $1.2 million. By 60, it's $1.5 million. By 65, he has $1 million, less than any of his revised targets, and the life he's built cost $95,000 a year. He didn't change the goal changed with him, and by the time he reached the original number no longer funded the life he was living. This is the goalpost problem, and it is nearly invisible while it's happening, because every upgrade felt reasonable at the time. Every lifestyle improvement was a reward for working hard. And now the reward has become a cage. David never once thought of himself as reckless. He thought of himself as someone who'd earned it, and each upgrade was quiet proof that he was becoming the person his raises were supposed to create. Nobody upgrades their life while thinking of it as a trap. They think of it as arriving. Margaret, by contrast, made a different kind of choice. Not about money, about what enough looked like. She decided, somewhere in her 40s, what kind of retirement she actually wanted. Not the culturally aspirational version, the real version, and she built it toward that. Not toward a bigger number, toward a specific, honest, attainable life. Morgan Housel writes about this in The Psychology of Money. The idea that the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Not because people are greedy, because we are almost perfectly calibrated to adapt to our circumstances and want slightly more. It's a feature of human psychology that served us well evolutionarily. In retirement planning, it's one of the most expensive features we have. So, what does $1 million actually fund? Let me be specific, because I think specificity is more useful than vague reassurance. At 4% withdrawal, $40,000 a year from the portfolio. Add average Social Security, roughly $18,000 to $22,000 a year depending on your earnings history. Total annual income from $1 million plus Social Security, somewhere between $58,000 and $62,000 a year. In a medium cost of living area, a smaller city, a rural area, a suburban community without premium property taxes, $60,000 a year funds a genuinely comfortable retirement, not lavish, not restricted, comfortable, travel, hobbies, good food, medical expenses covered, something left over. In a high cost of living city, London, New York, San Francisco, Sydney, $60,000 a year is tight. Depending on housing costs, it could be very tight. Where does your answer fall on that spectrum? Comfortable, tight, or somewhere in between? Because that answer alone tells you more than the portfolio balance does. And here's the variable that changes everything. If you retire before 65, before Social Security or state pension eligibility, your portfolio has to cover the full gap alone. No $18,000 to $22,000 supplement, just the 4% withdrawal, $40,000, for however many years until the supplement begins. This is why early retirement with $1 million requires a very different kind of financial architecture than retiring at 65 with $1 million. The same number, completely different demands on it. $1 million is enough for some retirement. It is not enough for all retirements. And the difference is determined almost entirely by the life you build around it, not the portfolio itself. Which means the most important retirement planning question isn't how do I get to $1 million? It's, what life am I building that the $1 million needs to fund? Answer the second question first, then work backward to the number. Because the number, without the life attached to it, is just a number. It has no meaning until you know what it's supposed to do. So, back to Thursday morning. The investment account. The $1 million. The feeling that was supposed to arrive and didn't be quiet. The number is real. The achievement is real. But the feeling, that sense of arrival, of security, of being done, that doesn't live in the number, it lives in the ratio. In the gap between what the portfolio generates and what the life costs. David and Margaret both have $1 million. One of them is free. One of them has a gap that will quietly compound against him for the next 20 years. The difference wasn't made on Thursday morning. It was made across 20 years of small decisions about what kind of life was worth building, about what enough actually looked like, about whether the upgrades were genuine improvements or just the goalpost quietly moving further away with every step David took toward it. $1 million is not a destination, it's a ratio, and like all tools, it's only as useful as the job you're asking it to do. If the job is modest, a life with low fixed costs, genuine satisfaction in simple things, a retirement that doesn't require premium for everything to feel worthwhile, then $1 million is a very good tool, more than enough. If the job is large, a high-expense lifestyle, international travel multiple times a year, a home in an expensive city, financial support for children, then $1 million is a starting point, a meaningful one, but not the finish line. The million doesn't determine your retirement. Your life determines your retirement. The million just either covers it or doesn't. So, I want to ask you something, and I mean this specifically. If you had $1 million in retirement today, not someday, today, what would your life actually cost? Not what you'd want it to cost, what it would actually cost, given the life you're living and the life you're building toward. Drop it in the comments, because I think most people have never done this calculation honestly, and the answer, whatever it is, tells you more about your retirement than any portfolio balance ever could. And if this series has shifted how you think about the machine, about what it does, what it demands, what it actually funds, subscribe, because Season 3 is going to go somewhere completely different. We've spent 2 seasons building the machine and understanding how it works. Season 3 is about what happens to the person when the machine finally runs. Why building it was the easy part. Why the hardest financial challenge most people face isn't getting wealthy. It's learning to actually live from the wealth they built. That series starts where this one ends. See you there.